Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Chris Yee.
And I'm Mike DeLisio.
Today we're taking a look at a, well, sort of new game. The game came out 25 plus years ago.
Sort of new.
Yeah, but this is the reprint of Through the Desert, one of the most well-regarded games from Reiner Knizia by Allplay. And just as a side note, Allplay does sponsor the Dice Tower, so take that into account when we talk about their games. But if you go back and look at my original review of Through the Desert, I liked it well before Allplay even existed. And that's...
You might even be quoted on the back of the box as saying so.
Well, the thing is, I mean, Through the Desert, which came out in 1998, so 26 years ago, this is, again, one of Reiner Knizia's top 3 recognized games for sure. You know, maybe Tigers and Euphrates or Modern Art or whatever, but this one
Marshmallow Test.
This one is very well known. Talked about it many times. So this Through the Desert comes with 2 sides of a board with a minor change rule on one, but other than that, it is the exact same as the classic game. So I'm going to show you how it plays, and we'll be right back. So this board here, well, you'll see this area is dark here, so you'll use different parts of the board based on the number of players, and has actually 2 sides. The other side is the night side, where the background looks like this, and there's a river running through it. Each player is going to get leader camels that have the rider of their color. So for example, if I'm playing black, my riders here would be black, and I'm going to have one for each of the 5 camel colors, which are purple, yellow, green, blue, and red. And at the beginning of the game, you'll take turns placing your leader camels on empty spaces around the board. You just can't put them next to one of the random oases that we put out at the beginning. There's trees that you can put out around the board. These tiles also, these watering holes, are placed out randomly. Once all these leader camels have been placed out, the game will begin. On a player's turn, the first couple of players will be putting out 1 camel. But after that, you get to place 2 camels. And you can place 2 of the same color or one of your others. So let's say that I am the black player, and I'm going to put out 2 purple camels. So I can put them out here next to my camel here. I can say I'll go here and take this watering hole. This is 2 points for me at the end of the game. And maybe I'll put the next one here, because then I can go over in a future turn. I might go here and take this one, which is 3 points. And then maybe even go over here. If I touch an oasis, the first time each color train I have touches an oasis, I'll get 5 points. So that's kind of cool. One thing you can't do, though, is if you'll notice, if I put these camels here, I can't put a purple camel here because it would connect the green player's purple train with mine. I can fork off of it if I want to, so I could go here and grab this. And one of the things I'm trying to do is have the longest camel train of each color, because at the end of the game, that's going to give each player 10 points who does that. That's how the game plays. You don't have to do the same like I've been showing you. You can take 2 different colors. I could have taken maybe one of these yellows and put it up here. And then also then the next turn take a green and put the green over here by this one and take this point token. Now, what are you trying to do? Well, the watering holes are just worth points. They're going to be 1 to 3 points. Connecting to an oasis with each color gives you points. You also, if you completely surround an area, so let's say as purple, I put out my purple camels, and now I have an enclosed area here. Here's the wall of this inside plateau, and purple camels going around it. When I do that, I get this, and I'm also going to get points for each hex that's inside it at the end of the game. So that's it. And when the game ends, when 1 color completely runs out, and when that happens, players are going to add up their points for everything that they've gotten, compare the camel lengths of each of their color trains. Whoever has the longest will get 10 points, or split if multiple players get it. And the most points is the winner. Okay, so the thing about Through the Desert is, my main function of it, which I really enjoy, is, and this is my quote back, but the number of rules to explain versus how much game is in there is crazy. This game has often been compared by some people, and I will do it myself, even though it makes Go players angry, to Go. And it really isn't like Go exactly, other than controlling part of the board. But You're putting out 2 camels. That's your turn. That's crazy easy. You put out 2 camels. You have spots to put them on the board. You are racing with other players to do things. But just how easy it is to teach and play, I'm mind boggled. Then you'll sit there and go, ooh.
The thing that separates it from a game like Go is that in Go you can place a piece anywhere, and if you are a complete amateur like me, someone places a piece out here and I go, what does that mean? Yeah. I place a piece somewhere and they're like, you fell for my trap. I'm like, I don't understand. So the benefit of this being that the caravan leaders determine where each of the different colored camel caravans can go out from makes it so that I can follow what someone else's intentions are a little bit, but I'm not necessarily in perfect power to stop everything that they're trying to do.
Yeah, and what Tom mentioned, I as the self, I understand that I am, looked at as a Knizia-phile, and I am to some extent.
There's no to some extent.
To a great extent, to every extent. I think that that's a hallmark of many, if not most, of his designs, is that the rules get out of the way pretty quickly and leave you with some juicy decisions. That's kind of a hallmark of his best games, and it definitely applies here. I'm going to state off the beginning here that while it's been a very well regarded game, it's never been my favorite of Knizia's designs. I appreciate the simplicity and the decision space, but what you're doing in the game, which is basically path building, area control, some blocking, scoring based upon where the oases are or where the water hole tokens are. I've always felt like it was good, but not my favorite. It doesn't usually give me what I look for out of Knizia's games. That being said, it's considered a masterpiece by many for a reason, right? I mean, it really is a game that if you like, it's confrontational, I believe. I believe it's a very confrontational game. If you like games where you are playing the other players as much as you're playing what's on the board, this is going to hit that mark for you. That's never been my favorite type of game necessarily, so I have a weird relationship with Through the Desert.
So, talking about components for the game. So the original game came with plastic camels and everything, and they even, originally All Play was going to make the camels into wooden ones. People kind of argued about that. Then I guess you can get both now, or the wooden one separate.
An extra add-on, yeah.
Yeah, so the camels in here, while they're not quite as nice as the original ones, because the original ones were filled little ones, these are hollow inside. They still work.
Like me.
My only complaint here is that to put everything back in here with no upgrades is Tetrising beyond belief. And there's a little bit of box lift here, and greater men than me have tried, by that I mean Chris, to get everything in here. I really wish All Play would have made this box a little bigger. It is a really squish thing. But that being said, it's gorgeous. I like that the little Oasis tiles, if you're on the one side of the board, the night side or dark side, they flip over to each one. They're easy to read. It looks cute. The pastel camels, which has always been an attraction to the game. Everything looks fantastic.
They look a little less like candy camels, right? But I think the production is solid. It's very easy to demarcate where is the outside edge of the board. If you're playing at the 2 and 3 player count, you use a smaller section of the board. And so that 4 or 5 player area is just a little bit shaded different. So it's easy to scale it up and down. Both sides of the board, I think, are pretty readable. The night side's pretty dark, but it's still very readable. And so I appreciate all the production that went into it. But I know it's going to pain all the people who work at All Play to hear me say it, but just a little thicker. I'd have been okay with that.
Yeah, I think that we've been a little bit spoiled here in recent years because there have been a number of Knizia's classic games that are getting reprinted, and they're getting reprinted in these grandiose, gorgeous, kind of like heirloom productions. And this is not attempting to do that. This is, a reasonably priced package. It's a pretty small box, maybe a bit too small. And so we can't really compare it to something like the new editions of Ra or Amon Ray, because those were going for a very specific type of product. This is fitting within All Play's line of quality productions. I think this is a very quality production, but it's not trying to be this big, deluxe, grandiose production, which I have no issues with. Although, like you said, that box is pretty tight.
And to be fair, we've all, I think many people make fun of the previous editions with the Ticket to Ride size box and not Ticket to Ride size components. So you know what? Like, this is fine. My one other little complaint is that in the rule book, it talks about you can section off whole areas and scoring on them. The way that one of the rules, I think it's a pretty crucial rule, is written, is it says you may not encircle an area that has an opponent's camels in it. And to have to clarify and check on Board Game Geek and stuff to see that actually the way that the rule should be written is you may not score that enclosed area, but you can completely cut something off. There's a minor difference.
I see what you're saying, yes.
Yeah. So the brevity of the rule book is almost perfect, but for just like that little, the little thing like that to clarify. Otherwise, I agree with Mike that this isn't a grandiose production, but this is an easy production to pick up. It's very affordable. It is a game that I think has very broad and mass appeal. So it existing in this box size and at this price point, I think that's a great favor to this game.
So this game has lasted through time here. It's still being produced. Like I said, it's considered a classic, even though Mike said he hates it.
I do not hate it.
I'm just kidding. Mike, what is your ranking? What do you think of it?
Oh, okay. One thing I did want to point out is that just in the base box, what you're getting is the classic game with the exception of the backside of the board. So that is something that's different with the river. So, my rating on this is not going to change much from what my rating for the game is in general, because really, for this review, we're only talking about what's in that base box, none of the expansion stuff. So
right. Mike and Chris, in a separate video, are going to go over all the expansions. I played a few of them. You guys have played all of them, and tell you what they think about them. I think they're a fun thing to add, but we'll put that in a separate video.
Exactly. So my rating for Through the Desert is a 7.5, and that's what I'm keeping it here. The production is something that is very, very nice, but it didn't change. There was nothing about it that made me feel like I needed to adjust my score for the game. But it's a quality production at a reasonable price point, and so that, again, as Chris said, is something that is a positive. But this has never been, again, my favorite of Knizia's games. The fact that I'm 7.5 is going to get pointed as a Mike hates it. That's absolutely not true. I recommend it. It's something that for particular players is going to be a 10, and I understand why. It's just not my favorite type of game. So that's why I come in at 7.5. Still think it's a very, very good game.
For me, I'm coming in at an 8.5. And what I will say is that I have not played this game until about a year ago.
Really?
No. Yeah,
wow.
It's just one that kind of evaded me. And so coming to this, I really appreciate so much about it. The fact that the information is very telegraphed out there, and yet there are still surprising moves that happen. Okay, I see what you're inching towards, and then all of a sudden someone goes, okay, well, now I'm going to drop 2 purple camels over here. I go, oh, well, that really changes things. I like that having to react to it. Very clean rule set, very open information, and yet still has surprises in it. It seems like a game that's going to be nearly infinitely discoverable as you can try new moves and new combinations of what you're trying to accomplish. And so I see why it stood the test of time. As a brand new player to this, I look at it and say, man, I do want to keep playing that. I put it on my top 10 3-player games list because I love that tension of when is the game going to end at exactly 3 players. There's 5 blue camels left. As soon as they're empty, game's over. Do I dare put out one of those? Because it's going to be hugely advantageous to me, but then I put myself in the position where the other 2 players could end the game immediately. Those are great, tough points. So it's not just connections, it's not just area control, but also that end game is just so juicy. 8.5.
Yeah, I really love this game. I was really, like I said, 8.5 or 9, but I think 8.5, it just, so much it is, it's a balance between instant gratification. Give me points for I want those 3-point oases. There's not that many of them. Grab them. I want to connect the 3-point watering holes. I want to connect to the oasis and get 5 points. That's mixed with the end game stuff. You know, the having the longest train. I'm fighting other people, and or also getting one of those big areas. But that is mixed up with that whole idea of it's like a slow version of Tron. Like I'm moving my camels, and you're like, oh, I will cut you off. Da, da, da. But I think, and you said you like this with 3. This is one of the few games that I also really like with 5. It doesn't bother me when there's just, it's a little bit more chaotic because there's camels everywhere. Ooh, but it makes the area control more interesting. It means that, like, I'm going for blue. No one else better touch the blue camels. That's mine. I just find it to be fascinating. It's like a crowded board, and I'm trying to watch all 5 colors of my camels at the same time. And at some point I have to go, yeah, I give up on you guys. You know, you're just there to grab a couple watering holes, and that's it. But I want to win 2 of these area control. I mean, the length of the camels. And it mixes that just a few choices. I mean, really, if you think about it, you have only so many things you can do in your turn. But they're good ones. They're tough ones. But you're also not, you're not thinking like 8 steps ahead. I'm thinking right now, what am I doing? I need to connect to this before someone else does. And I think the expansions adds that up, but you guys will talk more about that in that video. So, Through the Desert, a classic game for sure. You think games are getting too big and too overwhelmed with too many rules? I think this one fights against that trend.
Breath of fresh air, yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Chris Yee.
And I'm Mike DeLisio.
See y'all next time.